Hello and welcome to Insights for Manufacturing. I'm your host, Jeff Beecham, and in this podcast series, we'll be looking at some of the challenges and opportunities for UK manufacturing in 2022. Throughout the series, I'm hosting a range of guests from service businesses and support organisations, providing subject matter expertise and guidance on a diverse range of topics affecting UK manufacturing. Today, we're going to be discussing apprenticeships and why they're vital to the growth and long-term stability of UK manufacturing. I'm pleased to welcome my guest today, Anita Davenport-Brooks. Anita is the chair of AIM, which is Apprenticeships in Manufacturing, and Group HR Manager at Lander Automotive. Welcome, Anita. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Nice to meet you again, Jeff.
Yes, absolutely. And we're recording this on a sunny Birmingham Good Friday. So, I've been looking forward to this conversation. So, can you tell me a bit about yourself, Anita, and how you came to be involved in apprenticeships?
Oh, well, I worked in human resources for over 20 years, but my real passion has always been people. And one of the things I did when I took some time out from working in human resources was to retrain as a clinical hypnotherapist and NLP coach, and did cognitive behavioural therapy and counselling as well.
Yeah.
And that got me more looking into why people are the way they are, but also how people can improve and get better, and what availability there is out there for different kinds of qualifications, and not only grow your skill level, but also you as an individual. I'd always been involved in apprenticeships to a degree. Years ago, I was an MVQ assessor and verifier for a training company, and I used to go out to lots of different companies, big organisations, doing assessing with apprentices. And I really liked seeing how they were challenged, how they grew, how they got substantive roles, how they developed. It really made the job interesting, it made the job enjoyable. Got more into human resources, and then later became HR consultant working for myself. And I got the opportunity to work for 3 or 4 different organisations. And whatever organisation I worked in, there was always an aspect of they wanted 1 or 2 apprentices.
Yeah.
Then I went to Lander as a consultant. I wasn't a permanent employee there. And probably I'd been there about 3 years. And I met a guy who was really into talking about bringing in large-scale apprenticeship programs into manufacturing organisations to improve the skill levels, but to also reduce your reliance on agency labour who weren't as skilled, and made sure that the individuals you were employing were getting some good qualifications. So I proposed it to my director at the time and the other directors, and they were a bit like, how's this going to work? And it was just before the apprenticeship levy came in.
Right.
And they could see that, yes, there was a benefit to it, especially cost-wise. There was to be some savings, but also the opportunity to grow some young people in the local area, give them opportunities and jobs, because in Birmingham, where the factory is based, it's 25% more deprived than the other areas of Birmingham.
Yeah.
And the skill levels are a lot lower. There's more NEETs, and there's more kids that are, failing at school. So eventually they agreed. We got the programme up and running in 2016 with our first cohort. And it was great to see these young people come in, learn about manufacturing, which I love. I love manufacturing, and I've worked in lots of different industries.
Yeah.
And getting them to see that some of them that weren't that academically bright could do something, learn something, and get paid.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were paying a salary of around £10,000 a year, and I think the apprentice wage was a lot lower than that, around about £3.50. So they were on £5 straight away. So they were earning a lot more. And it was great to see them taking on the challenge of working in a manufacturing environment and growing and developing.
Yeah.
So that's really like a quick pre-say of where I've got to where I am today.
Oh, that's brilliant. So how did the AIM chair role come about? Because you've recently taken over that, and I
Yeah,
understand the AIM
that
is backed by the government and other
it
sort of
is. It is.
organisations.
It's through the ESFA. And it's linking lots of different organisations and federations together, such as Make UK,
Yep.
Metal Forming Council, Ingenuity, all those organisations that have got their own little groups of employers that they work with. And it was a very strange conversation in January, where end of January, I wasn't in a good place mentally. I'd just lost my mom.
Yeah.
And they had this message from one of the guys at the ESFA that I knew, and I was already the West Midlands Apprenticeship Chair, West Midlands Apprenticeship Ambassador Network Chair,
yeah.
and our region was doing really well as to publicise apprenticeships and grow, the community. So that this guy contacted me, you and knew, and said, can I have a 5-minute conversation with you? And I was like, yeah, okay then. And he said, the guy called Bruce, he's going to give you a call. And that day I'd had a bad day. I didn't even switch my camera on. I was so rude. And he did a Teams call with me, and he was telling me about what AIM was all about.
Yeah.
And what industries and what sectors in manufacturing that they were trying to work on, and especially SMEs. And I said, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I thought, another group they want me to join, and I don't know whether I've got the time. And right at the end, he said, and how would you like to be the chair? And I went, well, isn't there somebody else better than me that could do it? And he went, Anita, you've come recommended. I went, well, who recommended me? I just didn't believe him. And I thought, is this a joke? And I said, oh, let me think about it. I'll need to speak to my boss. How much time is this going to take up and everything? Sure. So I went away. But I think it's come from the fact that we were in the top 100 and we were 14th.
Yeah.
And that's the government ranking. And I think we won the regional apprenticeship awards, and we also won the nationals in December last year. So I think from that and the work that Lander have done, and the apprenticeship programme and the awards that we've been very lucky to achieve, I think it's come down to, well, she's involved with this, she's an ideal person to get involved in this group as well. So I was a bit surprised and shocked, but I'm really pleased to have the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So what are the main aims for AIM?
Okay, well, we have 4 pillars of success.
Yeah.
I've got it in front of me, so I'll need to look up just in case you're wondering what I'm doing.
Okay.
And the 4 aims really are to grow the number of high quality apprenticeships, grow the number of opportunities for young people and those from diverse backgrounds, and grow the number of manufacturing SMEs engaging with apprenticeships, and grow the number of apprenticeships in new occupations, especially in response to new and emerging technologies such as net zero ambitions. So, and so far we've had a couple of meetings, and it's really interesting about how engaged they all are, and how they're really excited to be involved with something like this, and also to push the agenda of apprenticeships, not just in your bigger organisations, but to really try and connect more with SMEs as well, and look at those, what are the barriers to success? And that's one of the key things we're working on at the moment. What are the barriers to the success of trying to achieve all these pillars of success?
So, there's a lot of people have been talking about SMEs recently, and they are the backbone of the economy, and particularly in manufacturing, the SME supply chains are crucial to the OEMs and the tier 1 businesses. And quite often, the SMEs don't get enough support or the right the right type of support, a lot of the time they don't know where the support is that actually exists in the first place. So things like this, will be great for bringing SME companies together to talk about the challenges. They all need the skills, don't they? Most of the businesses I talk to are crying out for shop floor labour. And if you're not bringing through and nurturing and training fresh talent, the future doesn't look great. So this is a great initiative, and I think they've got the best person for the job based on your recent track record. Amazing. So, and like you say, you're also regional chair of the West Midlands Apprenticeship Ambassador Network. So, what are apprenticeship ambassadors, and what does the network specifically?
Well, we are nationally, we have ambassador chairs in all the different regions, such as the Northeast, the Northwest, Southwest, Southeast, and the Midlands. We work much more closely with the on the grounds kind of fact finding and networking. So say for the West Midlands, I have quite a big region. So trying to get all those people to attend the meetings, we decided to do a different structure that they do not do at any of the other regions. So I have 6 sub-regional chairs. So I have one for Stoke and Staffs, I have one for Worcester, Coventry and Warwickshire, the Black Country, the Marches, and also Greater Birmingham and Solihull. They are more focused on what are the local issues there. So do we need to get the LEP engaged? Do we need to get the careers hub? Who do we need to speak to regarding getting more involved in schools? Where's the best funding? And we don't just have employers there, we involve training providers as well, because that's important, that they're part of the conversations, so that local people can say, whether they're an organisation that's got 2 or 3 employees or 3,000 employees, that well, actually, this isn't working for us. Where do we get this information from? And it's been really successful. We had one of the most successful National Apprenticeship Weeks this year, all down to the work that people in our organisation do. I mean, we have people involved from the West Midlands Combined Authority that come along, do presentations. We have presentations from various organisations to talk about mental health, apprenticeships, and how the apprentices have coped through lockdown. So we cover a wide range of things. And we also talk about the trailblazer groups as well. So what's working for trailblazers, what qualifications are missing. A lot are still complaining about the customer service qualification. There's a missing gap there. I talk about manufacturing and say we've got a great level 2, but we haven't got a level 3 unless you're in food and drink, and then you've got the technical operator qualification. But if I want to change that, I've got to, find 6 other employers to be involved in it, and then set up a trailblazer group. Madness, absolutely madness it is. I understand it's about getting the quality right, but I think there's quite a lot of barriers for niche SMEs. So the West Midlands Ambassador Network Group, one of our targets is get more SMEs involved. And I've reported back to the ESFA. I had to do a presentation to them from an ambassador network point of view and how we've grown our network and what we've done, but also as an SME. And I made this point to them that the apprenticeship levy, great, we've got to use it. And I've been very lucky to use the levy from 5 different organisations, which the West Midlands Combined Authority have organised for us. But if you're an SME with 10 to 50 employees, maybe a bit less, you want somebody to tell you, okay, where can I get the money from? Where can I get the apprentices from? Who's going to look after the DAS system? Who's going to make sure they're on track for me? You haven't got somebody in your organisation that's going to want to do all that, because it is so complex. And one of the guys from the SFA, when I was doing my presentation, he says, so what you're saying is we need to have a bit of a one-stop shop for SMEs. I says, you do. I said, because it's great that you want to engage with them, but it's all right saying, oh, if you click on here and you do this and you do that, you'll get that link to go to. An SME hasn't got that time.
No, absolutely not.
They haven't got the time, and they're not going to employ someone just to look after that if they're only going to have 2 or 3 apprentices. And the other barrier is a lot of the providers, I think probably about 3 or 4 years ago, the government was pushing, you need to get your apprenticeship numbers up, you need to get your apprenticeship numbers up. They've stopped doing that. And it actually, one college told us that that is true. And they only want the volumes. So unless you've got 100 apprentices, a lot of providers, the bigger ones with the really good quality and the facilities, are like, it's not going to work for us, it's not financially viable, so I'm sorry, we don't want to be involved. And you know, that's a bit unfair. If you're really keen to grow your workforce, you want to give young people the opportunity, but there's lots of little barriers in the way that unless you think, no, I'm definitely going to do this, I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to do it, you give up in the end and go, oh, this is another barrier, this is too much. I wish somebody would take this headache away from me.
It sounds like in certain scenarios, and this is probably one of them, that the apprenticeship training provider setup needs to be more flexible, because it's quite rigid, isn't it? You know, and I mean, let's talk about the apprenticeship academies and colleges for a second. So I've heard some people in UK manufacturing say that, you know, the machines or equipment for engineering apprenticeships, for example, at some of the training facilities are not fit for purpose for today's engineering and manufacturing needs. You know, and in some areas, some of the providers just haven't got any of the right sort of equipment for the local businesses. You know, so overall, do you think the apprenticeship providers are really that much behind the curve? I mean, are they getting enough funding from the government?
I don't think they're getting enough funding at all, especially to invest in the future and to invest in new technologies. I don't think they are. It's your big players, your big manufacturing organisations that are going to have to try and support as well. And when you think about it, a lot of the providers are supporting those bigger manufacturers because they know that if they've got gaps in their learning at the organisation they're going to get that training and development, they're going to pick it up at the workplace because they've got the level of equipment, the level of investment. So I definitely believe, and the way technology changes, the way, you know, we want to look at net zero, we want to look at all these new green initiatives. So how is your smaller organisations going to do that? What support are they going to get? How are they going to be able to look at machines that are more economically viable, but also, you know, carbon footprint, fuel, energy, all that kind of stuff needs to come in. So if they've got a machine that's working really well, they're not going to want to change it because the investment, capital investment is just too much for them. And that's the same for training providers. And colleges. There are some great IoTs out there that have got some great facilities, you know, but they're doing level 4, level 5 up qualifications. They're doing level 3s, some level 2s that are getting done. The equipment's not there. It's not up to date. But they're not going to invest in it because they want to do more of these high level qualifications because that's where the money is. Yeah,
absolutely. So what else is what in your opinion, what's working, what's particularly good, and what else is not working with apprenticeships? I mean, we've got some of the courses I think, and I've heard are too rigid. You know, some of the training providers will only do the sort of block release option, which doesn't suit some of the businesses, and vice versa. You've got the day, the 1 day a week, 2 day a week scenarios. We've got the apprenticeship levy. I think there's still mixed feelings about that out in the manufacturing community. This is a manufacturing podcast, so I can only, you know, let's focus on manufacturing. Then there was the frameworks, and then that's moved towards standards. I did a short period of time with an apprenticeship academy after I was made redundant, before I set up Authentica Resourcing, and that was at the time when Yeah, there were still cohorts on frameworks, and it was just moving to standards before I left. There were courses that they didn't have standards for, and they were having people coming in. There wasn't even a standard written for it. It just seemed bizarre to me, and I was sort of fairly new to the sort of training and education environment. It just seemed bizarre. But do we need more bespoke courses to suit individual sectors or businesses? Just going back to my original question, I've sort of rambled on a bit there, but what's working, what's not working?
I think there is a lot of debate about the apprenticeship levy, and some organisations say it works well for them. Some organisations say it doesn't work well for them. So it's almost like, and it's the same with the standards. It's like we need to get things on a level playing field and the quality right, but we're not going to take these variables into consideration. This is what we're going to do, and you've got to slot into it. As an organisation, you've got to slot into it. I think the government probably are looking at a bit more flexibility with the levy, especially as there are more bespoke courses that are needed for larger and smaller organisations because the standards are so rigid.
Yep.
And like I said to you, for manufacturing, the lean one, level 2, brilliant. It's a really good qualification. But a generic technical operator, which takes them up to the next level, gets them more involved, kind of gives them the ability to demonstrate more technical skills that they can learn on the job within manufacturing.
Yeah.
The only one that's written that I've found is in food and drink. That's bespoke for food and drink. So you've got the case where you've got bespoke qualifications that you can't use anywhere else because it's not food and drink. And then you've got other organisations that need a bespoke qualification, and there are generalisations. Now, what we've done at Lander, I mean, frameworks were brilliant for us because we needed flexibility, especially for apprentices that we wanted to do welding, or work in logistics or do other things. So we said to our providers, we're the customer, this is what we want, like our customers say to us. And like we say to, when we go into a shop or something, we're the customer, this is what we want.
Yep.
But we didn't do it in an aggressive way. We said, we want to work with you and we trust you, but this is our business. Can you tell us what pathway they'll go through if they start on this standard, what you can deliver and how you're going to deliver it?
Yep.
These are the numbers we're going to have. You're going to do the recruitment for us and we'll support that and back that up. This is the programme that we want. Unfortunately, we found organisations that say, yeah, okay, we're willing to do that. But there are organisations that say, no, they need to come to us now and they're doing a level 3 and they need to come to us for a year. And we're like, that doesn't work. Sorry. But I understand why they're doing it, because for them, it's cheaper, it's better, they're more in control. They can reduce the amount of resources they need, so they make more profit, which is understandable. They're a business at the end of the day. But it doesn't work for everyone. And we used to have first 8 weeks in the academy on site in Lander, which is a training room, but we call it the academy.
Yeah.
And we said, that doesn't work for us anymore as a business because we'd like to get them more productive a little bit earlier. What do you think would work best as an organisation to deliver and then bring them out into the academy 2 hours a week or whatever, making sure we cover the 20% off the job? So we've worked together on that and we've been very open and said, no, that's not going to work for us, or that's brilliant, that'll work for us. Or they've said, that's not going to work for us, but we can do this.
Yep.
And I think it's about building that relationship up with the provider and getting it right and trusting each other to do it. I mean, we've had conversation with providers that have said, oh, we'll just trial it with you for like 6 months and see what happens. And we've gone, no, we're not willing to do that. We're not willing to do that. So, and we've had other organisations that have said the numbers aren't big enough. So sorry, we're not going to support. But then we've had others, smaller ones that we're working with on different qualifications that have gone, yeah, we'll take 1s and 2s. We're happy to do that.
Okay.
So I think it's very mixed out there, really is mixed, and it can be very confusing for employers that are not involved a lot in apprenticeships and understand it.
So if you're an SME and you, just for example, you hadn't taken on apprentices before, this is all sort of new, and you're only going to have one or maybe two apprentices. Where are businesses supposed to go to get the, because obviously it is a mixed bag, as you say. So and small businesses haven't got the time to go through. It's like, in the old days looking through yellow pages. Like now you'll do a Google search and you have a load of apprenticeship providers come up. How do you know who's good, who's not good? It's no good just looking at Ofsted ratings, because that doesn't tell you how flexible and agile that academy or training provider is. So what's the best way for a business new to apprentices to actually get the right sort of information? I mean, they got time to be doing a lot of peer-to-peer networking to find out who's good, because if one of their associate businesses use a provider and they're good for them, doesn't mean to say it's gonna work out for them. So what do you suggest? Should they talk to local organisations like the ones you're chairing?
Yeah, I think so. Those kind of organisations. I mean, even if I've got close links with the ESFA, and I've got a coordinator that I have a regular meeting with that talks about Lander only, doesn't talk about anything else that I'm involved in, talks about T-levels, talks about traineeships, all those kind of things with me and our involvement in them. But it is all about looking at what kind of is the best practice out there and doing your own research. I mean, the ESFA would point you to the government website and they'd point you to the list of providers that they've got listed, but that's just a list. You've got organisations like Next Gen Makers that they do a lot of videos talking about apprenticeships, what's worked in organisations, what hasn't.
That's Adam Tipper, right?
Yeah, Adam Tipper, really good. I would recommend anybody to contact them and say, I need some signposting, I need someone to help me. West Midlands Apprenticeship Ambassador Network, that's good because we can do more bespoke stuff in your area within the region. But also the West Midlands Combined Authority are really good in the West Midlands. I don't know of any organisations like more nationally to work with. But it is a case of you're going to have to knuckle down and look for that information. Yeah. And do a lot of your own research. And once you've done that, it's then trying to link up with as many people as possible and ask as many questions as you can. Yeah. Because somebody will lead you somewhere else, and they may get in touch with the provider, and you think, wow, this is really going to work, or it's not going to work. Yeah. But it is all about going out and doing the work yourself and finding out about it. Nobody's going to hand you a little parcel and say, here you go, here's your perfect little package, and you'll be able to recruit your apprentice now. And it just doesn't happen. Yeah.
And I suppose the other businesses or organisations, they don't actually know what your individual company is looking for or what your needs are anyway. So I suppose it does make sense putting in that effort and time. It's an investment, isn't it, that's going to pay dividends, rather than just having a load of generic conversations with generic organisations. You need to have your own criteria, wants and needs, and then go out and find who can match that for you, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you think that the large OEMs could do more to support apprenticeship training providers themselves? We spoke earlier about, some of the training providers haven't got the right sort of level of equipment and kit. OEMs typically would take bigger numbers of apprentices, and I suppose from my point of view, I've seen it many times over the last 20 years of recruitment that OEMs typically at all levels, they do take staff from their own SME supply chain. So I personally think that there is an element of, should OEMs support? Yes, I think they should support their SMEs more, but should they support their apprenticeship training providers more, whether that's with funding or maybe releasing some very skilled individuals to help out with some some training at the providers? 'Cause I know the providers are always crying out for assessors and tutors and things like that, especially in manufacturing. So do you think that's a fair comment? Could the OEMs do more to support the providers?
I think it's a mixed bag, really. Some do. Some work really closely with the providers, and they do offer that. They get very heavily involved in the trailblazing groups as well, and are really interested about how those are working. I think some of them have managed to set up their own academies, and they're very successful, and they take some of their supply chain, the apprentices from their supply chain, and support them. But I think what's one of the problems is that would be an improvement is that the levy that they can't spend, if there was a possibility, they could reinvest that somehow into supporting providers rather than it go to waste. I've been lucky to utilise levy from big organisations for different cohorts, and I've cost-wise, it's covered around about the cost of like £200,000 in qualifications.
Yeah.
You think about a provider that could do something with that money to improve equipment. So I think if there was a possibility of the government looking at potentially some of the levy funds that have not been used, could that be reinvested into providers to buy the right equipment, or even support more to get the right assessors in? I mean, one of the issues we found with assessors at Lander is that it was a language barrier, because we were trying to put some of the operators through a level 2 qualification. So I said to them very cheekily, okay, you can't get the assessors, you can't employ them. I've got 2 people in my team that speak Polish. Really fluent. Pay for them to do an assessor qualification and we'll do the assessing. And they debated for about, 3 months. And in the end, they said, okay, all right, then how many people are you going to put through? And I said, probably about 90% of our shop floor on a level 2 qualification.
Wow.
And they were like, okay, then, right, yes, definitely you can have it free.
Yeah.
But it's about negotiation and thinking, well, I mean, the qualification wasn't that expensive, but it was the principle of the thing. It's about that negotiation and saying, look, you can do this for us, we'll do this for you.
Yeah.
And I think if the government could see that that levy is going to be invested in new technologies, in greener technologies, and it's going to help the providers help the employers more, then I think that would be a really good use of some of the levy money that's probably going to just go back to the government.
Absolutely. It's bad enough with with some of the SME companies not being able to take on apprentices. There's a certain amount of levy funding that is just going down the plug hole, as far as I'm concerned. Because nobody's benefiting from it. In manufacturing. Let's spend it on try and get it to more SMEs, but also I think that'd be a great idea. Diverting some of that unused levy into some of the providers, because they rely on funding, and some of them are struggling with getting the right sort of equipment. So that's a great idea. So we're coming towards the end of our podcast today, but it would have been absolutely remiss of me not to talk about some of the successes you've been having at Lander Automotive. The business has formed this, it's a bit of a habit of winning awards, hasn't it? MX Awards 2016, the EEF, when it was EEF Awards 2016, SEMTA Skills Awards 2017, Top 100 Apprenticeship Employer, Regional NAS Awards winner 2019, the Manufacturers Excellence Awards, People and Skills 2019, SME Employer of the Year. I'm going to have to catch my breath now. There's so many of them. Triple Awards winners at the Manufacturing Excellence Awards 2021. the only thing that is springing to mind at the moment is, what is the secret to Lander's success? I mean, there are too many awards there for any of them to be a fluke. You're clearly doing some really, really fantastic work within the business, not just on skills, but on other things as well. But, you know, how have you managed all of that? You know, because it doesn't seem to be stopping there either.
No, well, it's all about the people and the culture of the organisation. And we see the awards as recognition for the work that our employees do.
Yeah.
You know, it is mainly all about them. We've got some great leaders who truly believe that people and their development and the growth of the business is really important. And the apprenticeship program has helped us to retain employees, grow our employees, and put them into roles that, you know, they didn't have the opportunity to get into when they first started in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And it's being brave and saying, this young person, I mean, I had a visit from an organisation this week who are in Bournemouth, and they're thinking on doing apprentices. I met them at the Top 100 and event in London, and he came to me and he said, the MD, I just want to understand, you know, why you use apprentices in the way that you do and how you grow them. So I said, come on, we're going on the shop floor. Did my usual speech, talked about apprenticeships and all that kind of thing, and what the program and what we do. And I knew this week, even though it's been a quiet week, we got 2 of our team leader apprentices on the shop floor. So I went up to them and I said, let me introduce you to the first guy. He's still a year 2, coming up to year 3 apprentice, still wearing his apprentice uniform, but he's got his team leader jacket. Tell him your story. So he said, I started in manufacturing, just talked about his story. Yeah. And I'm now a team leader and I manage this line on this shift. And then the next guy, he works on the opposite shift. Again, you tell him your story, similar story, and they spotted me. I then got the opportunity to be the team leader on the second shift. We worked together and we both managed the 2 shifts. How old are you? One's 22, the one's 23. And he just looked, as I would say, but you've got to realise is they've learned so much in the first 12 months, all about manufacturing, all about the quality, all about targets, that it becomes ingrained in them. And then they move up, they get the opportunity, they learn more about what it's like to manage people, they get the coaching, they get the development. And we see the awards as demonstrating, we talk about their stories and we say, this is what our people are doing, this is how they're growing, this is how they're developing, this is what they're getting involved in. And they talk about it to people coming in, and it's recognizing that the hard work that they do. Yeah. Even like our supply chain excellence that we won, our operational excellence, that's all down to people working hard, following the processes and procedures, coming up with new ideas and helping us to be better as a business, and having the ability to do that. You know, nobody's going to go, well, that's a stupid idea. Everybody's like, okay, you've got an idea. We want to hear about it as a business because it helps us to grow. So it's recognizing that everybody's got a contribution to make and everybody in the business knows that. And one thing with the TMX Awards, and I had the opportunity to speak last month to a group of people in London about those awards because they were relaunching them. Yeah. And I said, it's great that they come on site, that they speak to our people, they look at what we do, they look at how we do it. There's no hiding place. And they see that actually what we've put down in our submission is actually what we do. We're not just making it all up. We're just saying, well, this is Lander, this is what we do here, and this is what our people do, and this is how we all work together, and this is our culture. And they've gone, tick, yes, you do. So it's the recognition of, yes, that's the way we are, that's what we do. And we're consistent in doing it. Yeah. And we don't think, oh, well, yeah, we'd like to do that. And if we put it in, then, you know, they can see that we are doing something about it. even things that we say we'd like to do in the future, we admit, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
They'll give us pointers and ideas on, yeah, well, maybe if you did this, you could improve it or get there faster, or you could do this, you could do that. And that's why we see so much value in entering the awards. The recognition is fantastic and we love it and it's great for us all. But to get the feedback and the census check that, you know, are we doing the right things as a business?
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And it's, you know, it seems to me that you're taking an authentic approach to your people development. And, you know, some organizations and some individuals see winning awards as just like a badge. It's, you know, it's, yeah, this is what I've done. But as you say, it's taken a lot of hard work and determination from everybody involved, you know, from your trainers, your managers, the people. And I loved what you said. You know, the first thing that you said was, you know, it's about the people, and that's what it should be about, you know. So what a great way to you know, continue to develop what already sounds like an amazing culture within Lander to begin with. So well done to everybody involved. Yeah, we'll see where you are in the awards over the coming 12 months. I'm sure you'll be up there again, jostling for position with other businesses. So really, we're at the end of the podcast for today. It's been a really great conversation. I've learned some more about apprenticeships and some of the challenges. Just finally want to ask you, what plans do you have during the rest of this year? Any exciting news or any sort of developments around apprenticeships or anything else?
Yeah, well, I mean, Lander now are growing, so we're not an SME anymore. Now we've acquired 2 new businesses. We plan to put apprenticeship programs in those businesses, but we've also acquired a site in the USA.
Wow.
And over there, they're really struggling to recruit, but they are keen to talk about apprenticeships and an apprenticeship program. So we may go international as far as apprentices are concerned, and look at how we can develop people. I mean, the factory is in a very small town. It previously didn't have a brilliant reputation, but we really want to turn it around. And I had the privilege this week to talk to the HR manager on site there about all the things that we do at Lander to engage with people and the development. And she was just like, oh, wow, can we do that? And I was like, of course you can. Even the Easter eggs, you know, that I posted on LinkedIn. I said to her, this is what we've been giving out. I'll send you the email. This is what we've done. She said, I've got 2 days. I could buy a load of Easter eggs now and I could give them out. And I went, brilliant, send me a photograph, which she did last night.
Brilliant.
And I thought, that's just little things to do to engage, to get the culture and the idea of what Lander is about. And then start introducing the other stuff as well, you know, get them thinking the way we think as a family, we think about supporting each other, we think about growing, we think manufacturing is important. So, you know, we're doing that at the other 2 sites. They're more engaged. So I think really for us, it's about growing the Lander family.
And what a great phrase, growing the Lander family. Brilliant. Well, Anita, thank you very much for coming on this morning. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I wish you all the very best for the rest of this year. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion today. Thanks again to Anita. Thank you for listening, and look out for the next episode of Insights for Manufacturing. See you next time, and bye-bye.